the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to episode 268 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Beckson. Today, we're going to be talking with Raquel Moya. I think we had Raquel on probably a couple of years back. She is a lawyer and partner at Legal She, where we're going to be talking about how important community involvement is when developing in Costa Rica. And we'll briefly touch on concession properties, which is beachfront property that you don't own and you rent on either 7 or 20-year leases from the Costa Rican government. So we're going to be chatting with her about that, but a bit more focus on, I would say, community involvement in development here, just so that we don't have this gentrification here in Costa Rica. But anyway, I hope everyone is enjoying these podcasts, guys. We'll continue to do them. If there's a topic you'd like us to discuss, please email us info@investingcostarica.com, and we'll be happy to discuss that topic or find an expert in it. We're about to go into election season kind of here in Costa Rica with a new, with an election in February next year, which I'm almost sure is going to go to a runoff. So we won't have another president or know who it is until probably around about April, May time. Our projects are absolutely going too good, guys. Manuel Antonio is at 70% occupancy from December all the way through to April, doing really, really well there. There's not much availability there. We're about to start on our new Arenal property as well. We'll be developing 6 villas along a ridgeline there. We're just about to start that. So, I mean, if anyone's interested in investing in any of those projects, there are great returns. I always say I feel like I'm cheating because, again, a lot of people can develop here, but not a lot of people can cash flow. And that's kind of really as our speciality is the development and also the building and then also the cash flow afterwards as well, as many of you know that have invested with us. So you can email us info@investingcostarica.com, info@investingcostarica.com, or in the description down below is all of the links that you'll need. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good morning, Raquel. How are you doing?
Hi, Richard. I'm very good. How about you?
Good. It's been a while since we've had you on the podcast.
Yes.
Well,
thank you for having me again.
Not at all. It's an absolute pleasure to have you back on here. I know you're a wealth of information, and beforehand we focused a lot on concession properties, but I think now, I think we need to have a little bit of focus of like when investors come into Costa Rica, how they invest, and like, I suppose also how they integrate themselves into communities as well, so that we don't create too much gentrification in Costa Rica.
Yes, I think that's definitely an important issue and something that everyone's speaking about,
Yep.
Whether in detail or just by following trends, but something to pay attention to.
Definitely. Well, Raquel, I always like to get an idea of kind of like what you're seeing happening. Like, how has 2025 been for you compared to 2024? And like, how is the whole year trend? Just trying to give people that are listening an idea of like what's happening at the moment, within your world of work.
Yes, well, I think we had a frenzy and increase in real estate demand following the pandemic.
Yep.
And that started slowing down possibly around late 2023 or early 2024. And of course, I can only base this answer on my experience and perception of the market. I may not have all the data to give you the exact percentage or how things have reduced. But the market has definitely slowed down, and I don't believe that's necessarily or immediately a bad thing. So I think things are shifting.
Yeah.
We experienced a very emotional, anxious market for the past years, and now people seem to be wanting to make more conscious decisions. So I have seen things slow down, but also I anticipate there will be growth in the next year. All the conversations I have with people looking to invest in Costa Rica, they confirm this perception of mine that people are making more conscious decisions, and all the things they're considering when investing is taking them towards Costa Rica.
Yeah.
So I anticipate we'll have a focus on projects that are more focused on the environment, on community building, local needs, resident involvement. And hopefully we'll have a high demand of people that want to contribute to Costa Rica's growth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what 2026, is going to happen there. I mean, from a tourism perspective, which is something, I'm always looking at tourism because it drives real estate and development for me.
Yes.
We've seen a reduction this year for sure. It hasn't been as substantial as we might have thought it would be. They're saying 2 or 3%. I think it's more than 2 or 3% when speaking to the hotels. I think it's closer to like 8% really. And I think we probably might see something similar in 2026, maybe kind of flatlining over 2025, 2 or 3%, kind of movement up or above. But I think I think we've hit a plateau now kind of where we are with regards to arrivals into Costa Rica. That's for sure.
Yes, I think, despite all the challenges we have in the world and in Costa Rica, Costa Rica is still perceived as stable and appealing. And even though numbers have reduced, as you said it's still a very attractive place to come. And I don't see that changing in the near future.
No, I mean, the waterline, as I like to say, is higher than it was in 2019 by quite substantial. So I think we've hit a new plateau here, and this is probably where we're going to stay now for the next coming years. It's going to bobble around this, but it's a lot higher than it was in 2019. It's just going to be steady rather than this huge upward swing that we had. We don't see a huge downward swing, but I definitely see it moving towards a buyer's market, but we've hit a plateau.
Yes, I agree with your perception of that.
Awesome.
And of course we have challenges in our country that we need to address and keep addressing so we can live up to the standard that Costa Rica has created as a tourism experience.
Yep.
And well, we just started election year in Costa Rica in October 1st. And I'm sure that, and I'm hopeful that all the candidates and political parties will be focusing on that.
Well, I'll try and get as many of them on here as possible. We had Juan Carlos Hidalgo, who's the candidate for PUSC, who's a buddy of mine. So we just kind of chatted with him, but we'll see if we can get a couple of other people on here, to kind of chat. I'm not too sure how many of them speak English. I'm sure the majority of them do. But yeah, it'd be great to get their opinion on kind of what Costa Rica needs to focus on, because in the previous podcast, I spoke with Mario Makowski, who again used to own Tabacón, owns Nantipa, and also El Presidente, of just talking about that. Like, the government here really doesn't talk about tourism that much. You never hear our current president, Rodrigo Chavez, really talk about it at all.
Yes, and I think, well, it's interesting. I did hear your interview with Mario, and I think he's a great resource because he's, well, obviously he's working in tourism for many years, has a lot of experience, but he also lives outside of Costa Rica, so he has a good perception of what's going on in Costa Rica and in the world. And tourism is definitely a driver for our economy, and it needs to be the center, or if not the center, a very key important part of any policy making we have.
Yeah. Well, vamos a ver. I mean, you've probably managed, what type of investments have you seen that like people are having difficulties now, and which ones are you seeing having success?
I see people are having more success by developing turnkey projects for people that just want to immediately move in and don't deal with the construction phase or the uncertainties of developing themselves.
Yep.
Not just, I think the world has so many complexities and uncertainties that people don't just want to add one more to their plate. So if they can make an investment that feels easy, that's becoming more appealing, and it's more successful for developers to do that. Also, the cost of living in Costa Rica is very high, and the cost of building is very high. Yep. So people don't want to, when they start anticipating what it could mean, and also they face the fact that they may not be able to fully understand what it will mean because of all the uncertainties, they get discouraged. So more and more clients are looking for something that has been already built.
Yeah. I mean, I think that land developers are probably seeing a little bit of difficulty at the moment there, just because of what you've said. I mean, I know a lot of projects out there that are suffering at the moment. That just the sales aren't happening. It's happening very slow, or they haven't even got started. Like, they've pre-sold stuff, and like now it's got so slow that they've kind of, some of them are starting to kind of give up a little bit on their projects. So, yeah. Yes,
I've seen that, and I've seen people changing what their projects look like. So I think an opportunity in Costa Rica is fractional ownership.
Yep.
That is not sufficiently developed here, and people need to trust more in the power of contracts and creativity to create this type of projects. I think new models of ownership are definitely going to thrive. And I have seen developers that have been used to doing things in a certain way, trying to explore new alternatives to sell, so they can have people become partial owners by paying lower amounts or reducing their risk or sharing their risk with family members or friends. And this connects to this trend of people trying to build community.
Yeah.
Families are smaller now, and at least in most places and in most realities, and people that can find ways to invest with friends, with families, or family members, they feel more comfortable to take this risk. So I have not seen enough fractional ownership
models
offers. I think people are starting to look into it, and it's still not as popular, but I can see how that could become a trend.
Well, I mean, we do a lot of fractional investments, Raquel. It's I don't know whether you're aware of that, but like we do quite a bit of fractional investments. And like, again, half of our Manuel Antonio project is fractionalized. The Arenal villa that we're doing is fractionalized. That Arenal project is fractionalized as well.
There you go.
Well, and the reason being is that like not everybody wants full ownership. They want a percentage of it, but I also force them to sell at the end of year 5 as well, so that they, that there is an exit in there as well. But, what we do is a little bit different because we actually manage it as well. It's not just ownership, but we manage it and rent it and everything. So
that's what you're doing right there. You're taking away the problems and uncertainty and risk from the investor, which I think especially the younger generations, which are going to be the new investors, they are very risk adverse and they are not as willing to get into something complicated. So I do think fractional is great to hear that you have a lot of projects going on. For me, it's still at an early stage and in the country as a whole, and we don't have modern regulation for that. And Costa Rica being a country that relies on regulation so much, the fact that there's nothing you can find, because ultimately people, when they start understanding our system, they want to know how the system will protect this type of ownership. And they start asking questions that should be resolved by our legislation already. But we have very old codes that talk about co-ownership, like if you were owning a farm for cows and that's it. So definitely we need a lot more progress in that. And I always say it, progress in legislation comes first from practice and people being bold and willing to do something, and then regulation is born. So I hope this is going to come next.
I'm sure it probably will do one way or another, but well, let's change gears a little bit. You mentioned word communities, and integration. I mean, what's your advice? Because again, a lot of people are developing here or building or investing here on managing these aspects.
Well, I think in general, managing as a real estate developer that is dealing with this world, I think the most important thing is to try to take the wave of investment and turn it into opportunity for our country, not to disconnect to what the local needs and wants are, because now we live in a very globalized environment where everyone has access and opinions to things that are going on. And whether you like it or not, or whether or not you think this is important or relevant, it's a reality. So I think for anyone that's coming to develop in Costa Rica or anyone anywhere in the world, there are more factors to consider than there were in the past, not just regulation and your own particular risk, but also what community you're going to become a part of, what that community is expecting, and also not to lose the opportunity to connect your resources to help this community thrive. Because at the end of the day, Costa Rica is what it is, and it is so appealing and so attractive because it has been perceived as one of the safest countries in Central America, politically stable, a happy country. And that's part of the assets that each investor needs to consider and take care of.
What are some of the examples of how investors here could potentially, involve themselves in community? I mean, what have you seen that's been successful for people, Raquel?
Well, I think it depends on the scale of the project. So I'm going to start, for example, with high luxury. High luxury is definitely a trend in Costa Rica. It will continue to be. And I will have advice not just for the developers, but also for the communities receiving this type of investment. I think the fact that these resources and this type of people are coming to the country is an opportunity to promote philanthropy. And the impact of philanthropy in Costa Rica is very great. Now that there have been so many changes in the US and in the way that people in the US can contribute to the country, there's a lot of opportunity to receive direct contribution from a lot of the investors that are coming here. And in many cases, they want to be a part of that and they want to contribute and they just don't know how. So I think understanding and accepting that this is a trend and opening bridges between community and investors is definitely a very good thing. So this is an advice both for communities and for the investors to create this bridge. I think the country in general. This applies not just for real estate. The opening communication and connection between all the different parts of our world is what's going to make it thrive right now. And for real estate investment, I think that will be my top recommendation. So know what community you're coming into, understand it, know what challenges that community is facing, because those challenges will be your project's challenges sooner rather than later. The people in that community are the people that you're going to employ. The people of the community are the ones that are going to promote your project. And I think when a project, and you've seen it happen, I'm sure, when a project is loved by the community and accepted, it really succeeds, and it just becomes a wonderful thing. And I think Costa Rica needs that more and more, because I would like to see, of course, investors and developers being very mindful of the impact that they're creating in the country. But I would like to see a Costa Rica that also understands the impact of people coming here and how that can benefit our growth, and how we can take that as an opportunity, not to divide the country, but to make it more prosperous.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just some of the stuff that I think about is, providing community areas, even with that like skate park and stuff, which, I mean, they did in Nosada. Like, there are certain things that you can do there. There are certain organizations that you can get involved in as well, but I don't think it can be like closing the pearly gates to your, high-end community and keeping everything out. I mean, just because it's only going to create more friction. And yeah, so, I mean, and some communities have done it well and other communities haven't done it so well.
I agree.
But yeah.
And that brings us to another thing that is a challenge, and this comes more on the government side, and is the importance of focusing on zoning regulations, modern zoning regulations, flexible and alive, that can help people develop, and at the same time help the communities develop and create public space and public infrastructure, and just turning all this investment into an opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you'd mentioned there previously we're going to have a new government, which probably is not going to be till about April, May next year, because we know it's going to be a runoff with all the 20 plus candidates that we always get, and like at the moment, I don't think there's any front runner. We've got no idea who's going to win it at the moment, but it was like that in the last election as well.
Yeah.
And probably the one before that, so it'll probably be the same thing now. I mean, what impact do you think a new government's going to have on, exchange rate and security? Because these are probably two of the biggest factors, I think, that are impacting investment here in Costa Rica. I mean, it's the word on the street is that we have a artificially controlled exchange rate, because it doesn't make much sense. And also that, security is probably one of the biggest things that we have today here to worry about.
Yes. So I guess I'll start with security. I think, Costa Rica has always been considered one of the safest countries in Central America. And that is one of the key factors that has made it popular, and we really need to take care of that. Regretfully, security has fallen in the last years, and that's possibly the result of increasing inequality, access to opportunities. It's the result of many, many things. People like to connect it to just one thing, and it's very easy to do that. But, we went through a pandemic globally, and there have been a lot of changes that have impacted that. But from my point of view, restoring security is the top priority in our country. And this requires both preventive and corrective measures. We need to understand the root sources of this increasing insecurity, but also we need to tackle the issue with immediate action, with coordination between the police institutions, the use of technology, information systems. And again, we have so many opportunities with when investment increases to improve all these things. So for sure, I think security is the top thing. I think we still have not heard a lot of proposals or direct proposals in this sense so far, but we're just getting started. Well, but I'm sure this will be the focus of all campaigns. And then you mentioned exchange rate, right?
Yeah.
I think, well, obviously exchange rate, but if I had to describe the issue, I would describe it as the high cost of living here. Which, exchange rate, of course, has an impact of that. I think in that sense, a stronger colon is somehow a catch-22, because on one hand, it helps importers and consumers that have debt in dollars make their purchases and their payments more affordable. So some people are benefiting from that. But on the other hand, it really hits the tourism sector. And I think it's pretty obvious that Costa Rica becomes less attractive when our currency is stronger, or that seems to be the case. So this should definitely be assessed by economists. A lot of people do believe, as you said, this is somehow government controlled. And this needs to be a top priority, not just for the exchange rate itself on its own, but because of how expensive the country is becoming. And I think this combination of becoming more expensive and less secure is making us so less competitive with other Central American options that are trying to do the opposite, that they're increasing in security and they're less expensive.
Yeah.
So we really need to take a look into that.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned we had Juan Carlos on here before, Hidalgo, and I mean, he had a great thing, which was like, I'm just going to have in Limon, European basically drug police there doing scanning everything going into Europe. Like we have it at the Cuello Botella here in Costa Rica, scanning everything with the police so that they don't have to do it there. And I'm like, that's really smart. Like,
That's a good example of an immediate action and use of technology. And I think whoever the candidate is, also in terms of, democracy as a whole, hopefully we need to focus on all the proposals that come from different candidates. I think people may have their very different political views and preferences, and that's perfectly acceptable. That's also important that we have that balance. But whoever the candidate is, I think the issues are the same, and hopefully they can all contribute to focusing on that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I suppose running a government's like running a big business sometimes. It's a big ship that takes really it's mid-level management that run businesses and that also run governments as well. So
yes, well, it's definitely a complex thing. Both running a business and both running a country, I'm sure they have things in common, but also a lot of differences.
Yep.
And we just need competent, committed people doing it.
I agree. Well, we'll see what happens here, but I'm almost sure we're going to have a runoff here for sure.
I think you're right. It's positive, and I think Costa Rica elections is always decided in the last month. You never know what's going to happen up until the last month. Correct. Right now it's very hard to predict who's going to be running up.
Yeah, I don't even know who the strongest candidate is at the moment, but
I think nobody knows. Exactly. Nobody knows.
Well, Raquel, we've kept you long enough. So my last question for you, I mean, if you inherited $500,000 and you had to invest in a business in real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
I always answer the same, and this is completely emotional response. I will love a big farm in the mountains, secluded with lots of water sources and nature. Awesome. Always.
Well, I mean, it's great because look, I've got a buddy that did that and ended up building an organic farm and now is delivering organic avocados and fruits and vegetables all throughout, Escazú and Santana. And like, it was meant to be his retreat for the weekends. And now he's doing that. Like he just lives off his farm.
See, I'll just use it to relax. Okay. I will not be engaging in business. I'll be just relaxing in the farm. Okay. But yeah, that's what I will do.
Well, Raquel, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast. I think anyone that wants any great legal advice in Costa Rica should definitely reach out to Raquel, but very much appreciate you taking the time to join us on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thanks very much, Raquel. Guys, great podcast there from Raquel. I mean, we didn't go too deep into much there, but just kind of giving you an idea. I think probably over the next coming months, you guys are just going to get a bit of an update of what's happening here in the kind of the political environment. Because I mean, I think you'll see, as many said there, which is that he's taking a bit of pause investing in Costa Rica just to see who's coming in the new government and what they're going to do. I mean, I think exchange rate and security are probably the two big things here. And whoever's going to come in is going to tackle them as well. And, I'll do my best to help out as much as I can, as like, not that I have huge influence here, but always very happy to kind of just help out anyone here. As I say, I love the saying, when the tide rises, all boats rise. So even if I move it a small bit, I'm very, very happy. But if you want to get in contact with Raquel, all of her contact details are in the descriptions down below. Remember, guys, if you're looking to invest here in Costa Rica, buy real estate, build, we do probably about 15 to 20 homes for clients. We don't build ourselves, but we do all the project management. So we help you find the right architect, make sure that they're designing to your budget, then also bid the project as well. I always say that our fees are usually covered by the efficiency that we have in the actual speed of the process and also the value engineering that we do during the bidding for you as well. So if you're interested in just chatting with us, guys, there's no obligation. info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. And all the contact details are in the description down below. But until the next podcast, we'll catch you later. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.